Hello everyone. Thanks for joining today's call. We are going to look at the current sprint. We discussed we see any updates. Then we're going to also look at the other issues, including demographic update form, modules and APK testing, and rollout plan, and implementation updates. So let's start by looking at the current sprint. So in the current sprint, we have a number of tickets in pre-testing column and some in final testing column. So I'll go through the tickets in final testing. First is mUzima 339, which is to fix issues on the histopathology form identified during testing. So I can see testing has been done on this one. There is an issue which Ada raised, which I'm still looking at, and I'm going to finalize it before she can do any other testing. I don't think we have any other issue with this ticket. Next is mUzima 296. This one is the issues related to Huawei, where the APK does not run successfully on older APKs, version 3 and below. So there's been work done on this one, and we identified the issue is that when building the APK, if you use latest Android builder versions, which is version 23 or version 22, then the APK is not compatible with older versions of Android. That is version 3 and below. So the request here was for Win to, because we have identified the issue and we know we can fix it by building the APK using Android version 21. So myself and Win, we were to look into ways of building that APK. Myself, I've tried to generate the APK, but for the reasons that when you build an APK, it is signed by the debug there is a key, I don't know, the debug certificate that is used in signing is not compatible across the machines. The one that is generated by Win is not compatible with the one generated by myself. The compatibility comes in the sense that if you want to upgrade one APK by the other, then it would complain of incompatibility issues with the certificate. So I sent Win a message to Win about this. I don't know whether Win has communicated with you regarding the same issue, Eda. Eda, do you have any feedback from Win regarding the?
No, I think he did reply. I read it earlier, the email. I think he did reply to you.
Yeah. He responded explaining the signing, but somehow, which again I replied to him. When I generate the APK, the only way it can be used is to uninstall the ones generated by Win and install mine. The reason is that during the generation, it signs using a certificate that is specific to the computer we are using. So what is generated on a computer or is not compatible in terms of the signing with what Sam generates and what Win generates. So I'm not sure whether I should release it for usage, putting in mind that when the users want to install that APK, they'll have to uninstall the ones that.
Oh yeah, because I think he created the key store. And then I think you need to ask him for the key store for your source. I think that's the reason.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I will ping him again. Though I asked him about the theme. The key store he provided is one used to sign the APK that's uploaded to Google Play. But for the other APKs, I think I will still ping him so that I can get clear on that one.
Okay, sounds good.
So the same issue with mUzima 297 with the APK compatible with Huawei. Next ticket, looking at the pretesting column, mUzima 361, download notifications that corresponding patients and display them on the notifications page.
Yeah, what happened? What happened is that the consultant received the message, the notifications, and then respond through the web app side. And then when go back to log in as the original requester on the mobile side and try to send the notifications from the consultant, that new notification did not get show up on the mobile side. So Sam said he's going to look into this issue. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the only holdback for the teleconsultation ticket set.
Okay, so we wait for feedback from Sam.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's going to look at it.
Okay. mUzima 359, add optional field patient to notification. I believe it's this a similar issue. Sam is looking at.
The same set. Yeah, the same ticket. All three of them.
So 361, 359, and mUzima 360. I think all of them are being worked on.
Yeah, together. Yeah.
Okay. Next is mUzima 331, which is this in the set of tickets regarding Kenya EMR mUzima integration. So these ones, either you did some testing and there was feedback, which has a few issues to be fixed regarding the installation of patient attributes to the server, and also fixing a few issues on the forms. I'm already currently looking into these ones, and I'm liaising with Nicholas to resolve the issues with the server side.
Yeah, I think it's just like the ID mapping. Yeah. Yeah.
So that one affects mUzima 331 and 332, which I'm still following up to resolve the issues raised. Then we have 2 tickets on hold. We are still waiting for final information from CDM regarding the dispensary form and the health center form. So I've not heard anything from them so far. I don't know whether you have it.
I think those 2 forms are now on the MPAT form team court. They're updating some of the concepts changes. So CDM, I think they're also waiting from them.
Okay.
So before they forward to us.
Okay. So we still have to continue waiting.
Yes.
Lastly, we have 3 tickets regarding the demographics update form and the corresponding changes within the APK and the server-side handler. And I believe it's now our next agenda. So either you listed out some fields which
Yeah.
you
So
think,
I just categorize and group those fields that into the same category. For example, like the data model only store that value once. That means if that change, it would means change by instead and will not know what the previous values would be. That only included their birth and gender. So whenever it based on this the changes for this category, it needs to go through like a manual review process. That's what we proposed. And then another categories would the second category is those it can have like a one-to-n relationships. That means that we can store multiple values and still keep them as unvoided. For example, addresses and also like names and things like that. The third category is those that including things like person attributes. That means that the value, the old value would need to be voided and then the new value would be created. So those are the 3 categories. And for the second and third category, we propose that it does not require manual review process. And so that's what we come up with so far. And we also follow up with the data quality team just to get a sense of how they actually, what kind of if they have any existing SOP for going through this kind of exercise. If yes, and we'd like to get a copy from them. So we are waiting for Odawa to respond on that one.
okay. Okay, so that means I can go ahead to start work on these ones because I have to do some changes on the server-side handler to implement what the changes in the fields you identified. So the bulk of the work will be, I think, on the server-side handler and also if any changes within the APK that would go with it. So I'll begin with the 3 tickets and as we wait for feedback from Odawa and also any issues I may encounter during the work, we can
Sounds
discuss
good.
that during the calls.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other information regarding demographic update or questions, feedback from anyone? No one. Any feedback from or comments regarding the current sprint?
No.
Okay, that's a no. So we'll move on to the next agenda, modules and APK testing and rollout plan. So I've already mentioned regarding the generation of the issues surrounding it regarding the compatibility of certificates, and I'm going to do further work on it and do follow up with Win to generate an APK that's compatible with previous APKs regarding the signing. I believe the other modules, the server-side modules, are already installed on Ampart test server. And
Yeah. I don't know if Ruth is there.
yes,
Yeah, I'm there, Ed.
So maybe Ruth, you can share yours first.
Okay, I was able to test on the Ampath test server. Specifically, I tested on the error UI by creating some errors, and I was able to resolve the errors for duplicate data. And the link of for registration form on the encounter is working well, and I'm continuing testing, filling all the forms, and I'll give you feedback.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good. So I think that's one more testing we need to do is with to check with the Empath developer team and ask them to test against with the POC to make sure they can get the message through REST. So that remember, like previously we have that conflict before. I just want them to test the same thing for us while we have all those modules there.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe Simon, you can coordinate with developers team.
Okay, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, thanks. And then so if they check off, and then I think we can, we are safe to request Augustine team to do the same thing for the production, and then as well as all the latest form templates and and things like that.
Okay.
So there's an email we sent to 3 implementation groups, CDM, LARC, and oncology, to ask them for their feedback whether they would like this APK upgrade to be done this Friday or next Friday. We haven't heard from them yet. We will follow up with them today just to see if it will be a problem for them before we suggest for the rollout. We would like to get this done soon so that in case there's any problems and issues, we still have team members here to fix the issues before the
Thank
holiday. Go ahead.
Just a question. In terms of
Yes, go ahead.
in terms of CDM, just wanted to know who in particular is your contact person so that I can get to you a quick response on that.
Yeah, so we would like to get a feedback from CDM to say that whether they prefer to do it on the 18th or this Friday or next Friday, so that we can plan our module upgrade at the same time.
I will try and see if I can get in touch with the contact person and
Okay.
get them.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, that's regarding APK testing and rollout plan. Unless anyone else has a comment, I think we'll move on to implementation update.
Sounds good.
Cool. So any updates?
Not much for implementation updates, but when I was looking at the errors on the production server, I realized that most of the errors are because of persons who are not providers. So the forms ends up to the error queue. So maybe I'll contact, most of them are for Derek, for lack study, DM screening forms. So I'll contact Derek so that she can put a request to Miencha to give them provider privileges.
Okay, sounds good. So they users, but they are not assigned as a provider role
Yes.
in the provider encounter provider table.
Yes.
So okay, yeah. So Mientra needs to add that and also assign a system ID, and then they will need to give you the provider system ID in order to fix those errors.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I have an update from LAC. I met the data manager this morning. They are still doing further entry of data, which I think they collected in the last week. Then there is an additional work they are doing regarding entry. I think you all remember they have two databases, one that is active and one that they used to input data from last year up to around March this year.
Mm-hmm.
Then they switch over to the new database. So somehow they have had discussions and they have finally decided to do away with the old database and re-input all data that had been inputted before into the new database for processing. So they are working on that. However, they are facing a challenge in the sense that in the initial stages of using the costing form, the date of birth was not mandatory, and also the blood pressure. I think they were not existing on the questionnaire, not mandatory. So they never collected blood pressure information and also date of birth. So they were having a request if we can change the costing form, which has a mandatory blood pressure field, so that it's not mandatory, to allow them to input the data, and they will later on find that information and update within OpenMRS. And that I told them that is okay. So I'm waiting for their feedback so that I can work on it.
Yeah. Can you ask them to log the request on the ticket so that later on we will know what the history of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then another one, they were requesting if we can make date of birth not to be mandatory. I told them that one, I don't think that one is possible. The registration form has to have a date of birth. So what I advised them is because they really want to input that data now instead of waiting until they do follow-up visits. So I told them they could pick a date which they identified, which would not interfere with any other data. For example, they could pick a very old date for a patient who is, let's say, 140 years of age, then use the same date for all the forms. And when they will find the information in the follow-up visits, then they can go back to the records and update.
So would changes all this information affect the reminder thing? Does it have a reminder thing? In the costing form, I cannot remember if they have a reminder or not.
No.
Okay, if they don't have a reminder, I think that's fine. Yeah, either what you suggest, or make it even easier to have like a marker, just like have like maybe like a dummy person attribute, just like a tick box or something like that. So the reason I prefer to have like a dummy checkbox is that even with suggesting, oh, please pick a extremely old day of birth, 100 years ago or something like that, I just worry someone would pick something different. The marker is just easier, they just check it, yeah. So that you can run like a very simple query, right? Whenever this person attribute type equal to 1, and then all those need to go back for collecting the actual day of birth, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it may be cleaner because whenever you ask them to enter the user enter the value, there's always something off. Yeah.
So the attribute will be
done. Yeah. So you can create a new person attribute type.
On the register.
Yeah. And just say that it's a fake, fake day of birth, something like that, whatever that is, and then that person attribute type. So whenever they enter that, whenever it's they don't know the value, they just tick on that one. So it's easier for Vitalis to run the query later on instead of saying, oh, mandatory 1900 January 1st, because someone would pick something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then you make that person, the fake DOB person attribute to be mandatory, so they have to yes or no, Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other updates?
Kipa is still on leave. So maybe I hope during January we'll pick up from there and see if we can move things ahead in oncology.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Ruth, so did you see the email we request about the MRS ID list?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know where Adina is. So I wonder if you can follow up with Adina, and so that you can get like a long list of new MRS ID that will come in handy when you go through the error resolution.
Okay.
Yeah. And remember, but we all have to remember that when we assign a MRS ID to a client, we need to mark it off, and that ID cannot be reused for another client.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks.
We still had that challenge of maybe updating the people in the ground if you change the MRS ID, for example. I don't know if there are solutions.
Say it one more time.
Like for example, resolve errors and we assign a new MRS ID to a client, and maybe on the field they have the original, the wrong one. So it was hard how to back.
Yes, so I think it's a good point. So I see it this way. So let's say that there's a different possibility, right? So let's say that one scenario is that the client actually have an existing record in the system. The user just somehow did not search and download that existing client record on the local repo and go ahead and create a new registration with a new ID assigned. And then for that case, I think we need to merge the record. We need to merge the record and then resolve them and then inform the users. I think it would be a good idea, as you mentioned, that to keep like a pair list. What they originally assigned from the field and then what the system now is using, so that we can distribute those updated information for the users on the field in the field.
Yeah, I think that will help
Yeah,
reduce errors
yeah,
again.
yeah. I think that's a great point. So maybe if possible, you can create like a document, and then it can be shared by like only certain people with access to it, so that become like the central pair list.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks, Ruth. That's a good point.
Okay. Anyone who has any other topic to discuss? If not, I think we'll stop here. If you want to update us on your leave, I know you had mentioned.
Say it one more time, Simon.
I'm saying, I know you had us about your which is starting soon. I don't know whether you want
Oh,
to.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna start my leave this Wednesday. So I will not check my IUPI or my Region Shift email. So for any emergency, just send to my Gmail. I will only check that email, Gmail.
Okay. Enjoy your leave.
I hope that that's not that many emails.
I like having Kenya, yes.
Yeah.
Be sure to
And
get a
you
copy
guys,
of the emails.
We will miss you so much.
so you guys have a great holidays.
You too.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I think let's have a quick Monday.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.